My name is Loretta Lilac. I wrote and rewrote these poems while undergoing ketamine infusion therapy for PTSD from sexual trauma. True vivid imagery and raw emotion, this book, Ketamine Dreams, takes readers beneath the surface of trauma and into the vastness of imagination. This is a book of fiction where pain transforms into poetry and the shadows of the past dissolve into light. I think there's so much beauty and pain, and I love writing poetry because pain and love and relationships, there's so much renewal that comes after, and I feel so honored as a human being to be able to come out strong after. I've always loved poetry because there's so much opportunity to use symbolism, and there's so much richness in creating metaphors with, like, things of nature. A lot of my writing talks about water and how I am, like, coming out of water. And so this book is divided into 3 main chapters. It starts in hell, it goes into purgatory, and then it ends in heaven. And so throughout this book, it's kind of like the woman is coming out of the water and realizing that she's free. I started writing poetry when I was 12 or 13. I had 4 different childhood diaries, and I actually still have all of them. Some of these kind of inspired my writing. I did take some of my, like, word for word writing starting when I was like 13. So there's these 4 books. It went through middle school, high school, and like early adulthood. And so I had been working on those. And then also during the ketamine infusion therapy, I started writing, and I wrote a little too much. My writing overwhelmed me, but yeah. So this book really spans like 3 decades, actually. I always knew that I was very good at and talented at writing. All of my teachers growing up told me this is something you need to do with your life. I still keep in contact with my childhood teachers who taught me writing in middle school and high school, some of them in college too. And I started writing the book Ketamine Dreams while I was going through the year-long process of ketamine infusion therapy, and it took an entire year. Honestly, my writing went a little out of hand because I didn't realize that my doctor was giving me too much ketamine. But it was definitely before, during, and after. I was writing a lot of poetry, and I wish I had written a little less. My book, Ketamine Dreams, is a poetry collection, and it's separated into 3 main chapters. It's funny because all of the lovey-dovey poems are in the chapter of hell, and then all of the poems that realize that. This affection for a person who I didn't really know was a projection of my friend from high school who was forced into conversion therapy. That's chapter 2. That's purgatory, because I'm like coming out of that hell. And then the chapter heaven is me realizing that I'm actually in love with myself, how I should love myself. And I worked really closely with a wonderful editor. Her name is Megan Zavala, and all of these poems are out of order. They're not really intended to be about one specific person. They're actually they're about like 5 different people. So it makes it seem like it's a story. My editor, Megan, said, this needs to be a story. This needs to be specific characters. And so Megan is really the one who ordered the poems so that they make sense, so that the reader understands that this is a story of fiction. So honestly, my writing process is a little unhealthy, and I realized that when writing this book, my writing got a little too, it just like overcame everything else in my life. So there's this poem by E. Cummings. It's something like, writers usually have bad eating habits. I think I had, my most important priority over a year was writing this book, and I, forgot to eat. I forgot to sleep well. I forgot to drink water. I forgot to take care of myself in so many different ways, but I was just so committed to writing this book. So if anything, I think I learned that I need to set aside a specific time for writing. I recently read a book called Interpreter of Maladies. It's by an author, I think she's from India, and she writes about her childhood in Pakistan and the war, Pakistan and India, and how she comes back to America, and then they go back and forth between countries. And I relate to that a lot because I'm a child of immigrants myself. Another book that I love is The Secret Garden. It's a classic. It's It's a book about a little girl who she goes to India and then she goes to England. And it's just a beautiful movie, too. Of course, I read Eat, Pray, Love when I was 14, and it made me a vegetarian, which is not good for my growing body. And I also lived in an ashram, and I also traveled around. I was really inspired by that movie. I tried to live out that movie. That's why I moved. Just so many different places and moved where the hippies moved. And I also love speaking different languages. So those are 3 books that I would say really inspired my personal GR, shaped who I am. The book cover is about one of the poems called Mermaid Mother. It's about my abuser's mom telling me that I need to forgive her son. And it was really meaningful to me, this ketamine infusion therapy experience, because when I saw his mom, we didn't really communicate through words. It was just like her presence. And she was a mermaid, and she was blue. And she was like the same color as the ocean behind her. And there was a light behind her, and she communicated to me that I needed to let go. She said, let go. She said, like, I'm sorry, that's my son. Please let it go. Please let him go. And it was meaningful to me because my abuser's mom, who I met when I was 20, now I'm in my 30s. She said this, and she died right before I had met him. And he tried to explain to me later, like, he was mean to me because he was sad about his mom, which I think a lot of men do, kind of without realizing it. So the book cover is a mermaid coming out of the water, which represents me coming to the realization that I need to love myself, and it also symbolizes the 3 chapters: hell, purgatory, heaven, like the coming out of the water. This bonus called Don't Cry Over Spilled Coffee. She ordered coffee from a beautiful boy who was working. She spilled the coffee and cleaned it up, sort of. This beautiful boy said, "It's okay, don't worry, I'll clean it up." Everyone's handshakes. So she thought, do I repeat the cycle of filling my low self-worth with a stranger? And she wondered why this moment seemed so familiar and why she also felt fear. She felt in her body and out of her body like she had been threatened, when really he was just a boy with wide eyes and helpful words. And she stammered and her hand shook. She apologized repeatedly, and he told her, "Okay, it's okay." And she repeated this moment in her mind, that this moment was familiar, birthing this idea of the one who haunted her onto him, rosy cheeks and strawberry a lot. She replaced the one who haunted her pain that came from a man who told her, adored her, hurt her body, and told her it was okay, taking her soul for his own collection. A haunting that took her spirit, her faith for days that turned into years of a secret, for feeling the pain of what he said to be loved. A convoluted betrayal, a sudden inhale, frightened, familiar, far away, crushed her, safe and scared at the same time, instead of the one who haunted her with him. Thank you at Boulder Bookstore. I am so happy that I get to sell my book at your store. It's my debut poetry collection. All of the people who I introduced myself to have been so nice to me. Boulder is a very special place to me. Thank you so much.